Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to go from beginner to pro in the credit card space. We're going to go specifically the order I would get these credit cards if I were to start from the very beginning. And if you're new to the channel, my name's Andy. I'm a senior programming analyst that loves to talk about personal finances. Just hit me one day, why not use my personal skills into my personal finances and document it on YouTube? So on this channel, we like to talk about credit cards and budgeting and how to use these financial tools to help you guys out on your personal finances. So enough of that, let's actually get started with the video. Starting off with the first credit card, you're gonna fall under 3 different categories. And that's gonna be a student credit card, a secured credit card, or a starter credit card. A student credit card is basically if you're in college or the age of 18, you'll be able to apply for these cards. And usually the credit card issues are more lenient for you. So that way they know you're in college, you're trying to build up credit, and basically your approval chances are a lot higher. Now, let's say if you're a person that's not in school or has like a very low credit score, this situation may be different for you. And some other credit cards will require you to do a secured or a credit builder credit card. So a secured credit card is when the bank requires you to put at least $200 to $500 on the credit card so that way you can use it. So now why they do this is because let's say if you're not a person that's reliable, they actually have that as collateral. So like, let's say if you don't pay it, they actually keep that money specifically. So usually within a couple months, if you're showing that you're paying it off completely and using it responsibly, then usually they'll give you that money back. And then the amount that you had on the card usually goes up or increases based on how you're being responsible with the card, and you get out of that secured loan and you get that money back. Now for me specifically, I started off with a student credit card. And so the card that I got, I highly don't recommend. It's just something I regret getting. Again, I didn't know anything about credit cards at the time, but the card that I got was the Discover It Chrome card. So the Discover It Chrome card only allows you to get 2% cash back on gas stations and then 2% cash back on restaurants. And I believe it's only $1,000 per quarter. And so if you compare this card to the actual new card that they promote for students is the Cashback card. And with that, you get 5% cash back on rotating categories and up to $1,500 per each quarter. So you can see how that card was a lot better. Just maybe at the time that that card was not available, I just know that I applied for this card because this is what they sent me specifically towards my house when I was living with my parents. Now the reason why I still keep this card is specifically because of the fact it is the oldest card that I have on me. And so I always use it like maybe once or twice every year just to keep it open for the credit card age. And believe me, I tried to do a product change with Discover and they always denied it. And they just said that's something they don't physically do anymore. And maybe it's because of the Capital One merger and stuff like that. But to me, I was just like, man, like I'm trying to change it out because I have no use for this card. And I'd rather use the 5% cash back on the rotating categories. Now, let's say if you're not a student and you're just a person that's trying to get into the credit card space and get a beginner credit card, but you're getting denied for almost every single card, then I recommend using a lot of pre-approval processes, and those are all located with each bank you apply for or looking at to get into. And I actually ran into this personally with a family member that actually went to college, completed school, didn't get no credit, and now she's starting to do her credit card journey, but she has 0 as her credit score. And so she asked me for help and we went through it, and all the pre-approval processes, she was actually getting denied for every single card except for one, that being the Capital One Platinum. The Capital One Platinum is actually a card that is specifically just a credit builder in my books. And for her case, I told her just to jump on it because the fact that she didn't have to do no secured loan, I think that was pretty cool, especially having with no credit, because a lot of other credit card issues are going to be requiring her to have a secured loan on the credit card. Now, obviously, it's tough to say that some people may have to do that. It just depends on your situation. But definitely always try to find a card that you're able to do it without a secured loan and just build off of it. And then later on, let's say if you don't like that card, you can either do a product change depending on what issuer you have or what bank you're with at that time. Then definitely change it. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything. And if you just want to open another card, just go to another credit card, issue the card you want, but always try to do within 3 to 4 months between each hard inquiry because it does add up over time. Which leads into my next point of the Chase 524 rule. So the Chase 524 rule states that if you apply for 5 cards and get approved for them within 24 months, which is 2 years, you will automatically get denied for every other card after that from Chase. So now the next couple cards I'm going to be mentioning are going to be Chase issuers because they are actually one of the best cards to actually transition from either cash back to travel or actually transition back from travel to cash back. And so later on, I'm going to be explaining more in depth of what those cards are, which now leads me into the second credit card, which is the Chase Freedom Unlimited. The Chase Freedom Unlimited currently has a $200 sign-on bonus when you spend $500 within the first 3 months. You have 3% cash back on dining, 3% cash back on drugstores, 5% on travel through the Chase travel portal, and 1.5 on all other purchases. Now with this card specifically, it is considered a catch-all card, and for those that don't know what the catch-all card is, it's basically a card that when you don't have in any other category to have high multipliers, then you just use this card to pay that expense off. But now do keep in mind, this card is basically a card that's actually starting to reward you to actually use this card. And when you start using these rewards, remember, we always pay our statement balance in full. That way we are taking advantage of what the banks are giving us rather than taking money from us. So now after you get this card, like I said earlier, we're gonna be waiting at least 3 to 4 months to get the next card. And that next card is gonna be the Chase Freedom Flex. The Chase Freedom Flex is considered a 5% cashback rotating category each quarter. Each quarter, you're gonna be getting at least $1,500 per quarter. After that, everything else goes down to 1% cash back. But the weird and tricky thing about this card is that you also get 3% cash back on the dining part of things. So you can see how the Chase Freedom Limited and the Chase Freedom Flex kind of overlap each other, but it's completely fine. I mean, you can transfer the points. You can also still do cash back on both cards. And so their points are the same for one another. As for the fourth card, it's gonna be the Chase Sapphire Preferred. The Chase Sapphire Preferred is gonna be your first annual fee card of $95 that you're gonna be having in your wallet. Now, before you go out there and start thinking, I ain't paying no fee for no credit card, well, let me explain it to you. When you actually have all three cards, which is the Chase Freedom Unlimited, the Chase Freedom Flex, and the Chase Sapphire Preferred, that is called the Chase Trifecta. What this allows you to do is actually open up transfer partners to where you can actually start booking flights, booking hotels, which come at a lot cheaper price than what you would pay out of pocket. And so some of those transfer partners are going to be ones like British Airways, Emirates, JetBlue, Southwest, United, and for hotels, I would highly recommend Hyatt. Hyatt is just one of those top tier ones that I'm always getting my money's worth when transferring your points out to them. Now, how does all this work? So all those points, once you get all three cards, you can actually transfer from the Freedom Unlimited and transfer them to the actual Sapphire Preferred card, and same thing with the Flex. So you can actually combine all those points and actually start transferring those out, and you can book the flights, and it's really easy. You can do it through the Chase Travel Portal, or you can actually book it to see if it's actually cheaper to do it through the partner. So let's say if you transfer like to United or Southwest, and it's cheaper to do it that way, then you just transfer your points over there. You're gonna be linking your ID number that's associated with that website, and you just book it like that. Now, like I mentioned before, Chase, it allows you to do it both ways. So you can do team travel or team cash back. So let's say if you're not wanting to travel, then you can definitely just do the cash back on those specific cards and transfer them to an external bank account. So let's say if you bank with a credit union and you're using these cards, you can just link your bank account and just pull it over, and that's that. All your points are used and you just gain your money's worth. So if you want to do that, you definitely can, but that is what's considered the Chase Trifecta. It allows you to do either or. It depends how you want to use it. Let's say later down the line, you actually just want to do cash back only. You can actually do a product change from the Chase Sapphire Preferred into a card called the Chase Freedom. So now the Chase Freedom is actually a card that does not exist anymore. You can apply for it, but Chase allows you to product change to it specifically, which is basically another Chase Freedom Flex card. So instead of having only $1,500 per quarter, you now have $3,000, if that makes sense. Now, once you have all those cards, I consider you kind of already a moderate user. So at that point, you can start applying for more cash back cards, those being the City Double Cash, the City Custom Cash, the Capital One Saver. All those cards are considered only cashback cards. So you can actually apply for these cards just to get the sign-on bonuses and just leave the cards at that. And sometimes these categories are a lot better than the cards you currently have, and you can start stacking them together using each one for specific categories. You have the rotating categories for specific months. So this is where the credit card game starts coming into play. Now, let's say if you're not wanting to be team cash back, you want to be team travel, then you can start applying for other cards that are more like annual fee based, because usually these cards are going to be requiring you to actually spend yearly on them. So that being the Capital One Venture X, you get the City Strata. So those cards, like if you're already applying for the cash back cards for like I mentioned earlier, you're going to be getting the double cash or this custom cash. Then you can actually start just transferring those points to those specific cards. So at this point, after that certain tier that you're getting all these cards, then it's up for game. You can actually go however it fits you the best. Like for me personally, like I just keep the cards that I need specifically as of now. And then when the credit card game changes, I just apply for cards that I'm needing at the time. But now I know in this video, we did elaborate a lot on the Chase cards, and that just simply because of the fact that it is the 524 rule. Because if we went for the other cards specifically first, you would have to wait almost 2 years just to get into the Chase ecosystem. So that is why I highly recommend getting to the Chase ecosystem first. But if you're interested in getting those cards or any of the other cards that I mentioned, there are going to be referral links in the description box below. That way you can help out this channel. And as always, let's try to keep things simple, and I'll see you on the next one.